Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy A Boog, and you are here with Alex versus Anthony podcast. I have a really good friend of mine in the building today. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Listen, one of the baddest singers in New York City. You hear me? Don't let him be humble on it. He's one of the baddest singers out there. But Barry, tell him a little bit about yourself, man.
I appreciate that, bro. My name is Barry, and I'm just gonna keep it real short. A man of many talents.
Definitely.
That's it. Hey.
Definitely. The original Chris Brown. That was it. The original.
Word to me, Chris Brown ain't got nothing on me right now.
I
still have it, man.
I see a versus coming up. Y'all better call who? We got Swiss Beats.
Yeah, yo. Let's go.
Nah, man, but I'm really appreciative to have my brother here with me. We literally grew up together, you know what I'm saying? Legit sleepovers. We learned how to cook together. Don't mention my stories. Yeah, man, real talk. One of my real tight brothers for life. You know what I mean? Hey, but we're gonna get into it. Just give us a brief background on your upbringing, your family, and your current relationship status.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with my relationship. Oh wow. Relationship status. I'm married. I just want to make that clear.
Shout out to his wife. Shout out to his wife.
You know, I want to sleep in my bed.
Right.
And also, I grew up in a Panamanian background, which is very infused in Caribbean culture. So if you hear a Panamanian speak in Spanish and then turn around and bust a Caribbean accent, it's because their family is probably connected to it. You know, the Panama Canal brought a lot of people, Jamaicans, Bayesians, Grenadians, all of that. So that's the background. So you already know. I don't have to give details on that. Secondly, grew up in a Pentecostal home, which is a denomination of Christianity, and it's very strict. You know, they're strict on a lot of rules. Sometimes the rules are not even biblical, but yeah. It's there. So growing up, I always was taught obey your parents so your days could be lengthened, and everything you did, even if you questioned something, you felt like you were disobeying.
Right.
So that's the background I grew up in, and when it came down to women, boy, you just felt like you were sinning. Because, you know, you're thinking and you're looking at what the good Lord made.
Right. And he made it good.
You know? You're like, oh, Lord, I don't know. You don't know how to approach it in a righteous way according to the way we were taught. So at one point, you're just like, I want to sin because it's too good to let go.
Right. Okay. So today's topic is going to be about dating. And being that you have surpassed the dating stage, you've surpassed the engagement stage, and you are now currently in a stage which most people want to get to, which is marriage. Most people want to get to the point where they find their significant other and they live what they call the happily ever after. So you're a perfect person to speak to because you can teach people like me that are striving to get to where you're at. So dating, tell me what your definition of dating is.
My definition of dating varies, but I will just say this, the bottom line is just another form of relationship. We have various relationships. We have one with our parents, we have one with our family members, we have one with our coworkers, and of course we have one with our friends. And because it might not entail intimacy as far as physical intimacy, does not mean it's not a relationship. So when it comes down to dating, I think it's the same aspect. It just has a plus side, which is the physical, interaction.
Interesting you said that. So do you believe that there are different stages in dating?
I would say so. The same way you
Elaborate.
have different stages in friendship, when you first meet someone, you don't. I would say this, let's put it this way: when you first meet someone, do you automatically start asking what they could do for you, what you could do for them? I'm talking about a friend. You don't. You just fill them out. You hang out. You chill. You let things be. And as you interact with them and you converse with them, you start to realize like this person is cool. And then you go through experiences where the person proves to you that they're a good friend. And then that's when it's the next stage where you're like, all right, I'm gonna let this person in closer. And now when you're going through rough patches and that friend is there still, that's when you can sit there and be like, yo, this person has reached another stage in my life that I'll let them in closer. So now that person becomes like family. So if I think I'm going ahead of myself.
No, go ahead. I'm with you. So I'll slow you down if you're going too fast.
So if you look at it that way, dating is the same aspect. You want them to become family. So you fill out a person, you let them be, and when they show good attributes, then you take them to the next level. Okay, so in your experience, right? In your experience, so walk me through hey, listen. His wife don't listen, all right? We talking prior to you. Matter of fact, we're talking you. Yeah.
We're talking you. We're talking you. You see a female, right? Automatically, what catches your attention is the physical, right? So the physical catches your attention. What happens after that, if you're interested?
What happens after that?
Not the what do you say, yo, excuse me, miss. I was looking at you from the other side. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what happens in general.
Okay, so after the physical attraction, like, yo, to be honest, the body is banging. She's dressed nice. You want to see where she's at mentally. So, you talk to her, and if the responses is like dumb or crazy, now you deuces. Know how to not even deuces. Some dudes, I'm out. Some deuces are savage, some dudes is like,
we talking about dating here. Right, we not talking about that, because I might still want to get them in them drawers, even if you dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So relationship is done. It's like it's a what do you call it? A business transaction. Like
And it's funny you say that. You know why? Because I always tell people you have one date with me. Every female has one date. I'm gonna take you out one time. While we're sitting at that date, I'm analyzing where I'm going with this situation. If you out here and you talking and you sound like you off your rocket, like if I'm really that attracted to you, now you're going left. All I want is them drawers. You did it to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether or not I'm honest about it, that's up to the man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, you have one date with me where I sit there and I'm listening. I'm observing, I'm paying attention. If I see that you are potential, that I can say, you know what, I can see myself with this person in the future, then we'll go right and we'll approach the situation that way. But if you sitting there and I'm just like, no, you want it, because I want the Louis bag and because we going left, homie. You about to get this there and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But that leads me to my next statement. I was looking up the word dating in the dictionary in Webster's, and it literally said that it's a social event whereby two people meet for companionship. Then it goes on to say, this dating ritual is a part of the human mating process of the couple. Then it goes on to say, a couple that is dating may not have any specific expectations for their relationship. So, that is very interesting to me because in the culture that we live in, I've always wondered, why is it that there's so many failed marriages and failed relationships and just failed? But the definition in it itself tells you that a couple that is dating may not have any expectations for their relationship, meaning we're just here. There's no goal, there's no end, there's no Corona?
Nah.
All right now. There's no point where we're striving to, right? So it baffles me because this is how I view dating. Dating. I feel like dating is an interview. When you go for a new job, you go for an interview, they read your resume, they look at you, they say, okay, let me see your resume, they listen to you speak, and they make a decision of whether or not you're fit for that job or that position. Now, what we do in our society is we date, we receive the resume, and we see someone whose resume does not fit the criteria of where we want to go with our life or where we are in our life or at the stage of our life, but we so, like the definition said, we so crave that companionship that we kind of disregard the red flags or the the resume that did not fit the criteria of the job, and we still continue to entertain this person. So now we turn into and I wrote it down here. It said the battle between what we need and what we want. So I feel like in relationships, sometimes, especially females, you hear females all the time talking about if he's not 6'2", if he doesn't if he does, they got a checklist. Don't get me wrong, I got a little checklist too. But as humans, I feel like we got a checklist. And I feel like the checklist is all about what we want, but not really what we need.
Can I interject?
Go ahead.
Now, the question that goes along with what we want and what we need, some people would literally say, I don't know what I want or what I need, or would say they know and actually don't.
Correct.
So I remember one time I told a woman that, and she was very aggressive, and I was like, yo, you don't want to deal with me. And she was like,
I say that all the time.
What you talking about? Because I'm going to give you what you want and not what you need. And she was like, oh, she was intrigued by it because it was kind of like, oh, he's a man. He's doing something, what are you going through? And I'm like, it's really not that deep. It's more of what you expect is not what you're going to get, because I have a different lifestyle that I can't put aside to cater for that. Right. So with that being said, when you ask the question of what you want and what you need, are you expecting to see evidence of a person's character right away? Because we all try to tell each other, you see memes all throughout social media, keep working at it, sooner or later it's going to break through and this, that. You're not even the evidence of what your characteristic is. Some people are hard workers and they just never got to the point of reaching the next level. They're fighting against that ceiling. So the problem is when that want and need is kind of like women sitting there saying, I need to see evidence of what your characteristic is. The man could be a hard worker. He could be busting his butt. He don't have the Benz. He don't have the bread. And you're going for the dudes who never worked a day in their life. All they're good is that there's probably, scamming or whatever. They getting the fast money.
Shout out to all my scammers out there, man.
you know, plenty of times I got free drinks because the shorty done did something.
Right.
I hear that. Shout out to the scammers, alright? You stupid for that one. But y'all looking for instant gratification.
Right.
Yeah,
no.
It's crazy.
What was funny to me, and we're gonna kind of skip ahead to then come back. It's funny to me because you said something that's very, very critical. A lot of people don't even know what they need, or they don't know the difference between what it is that they want and what they need. Now, I'll tell you from experience. You know my story. I went from my mother's house to a house with my ex-wife. And at a very young age, I was now, quote unquote, what you call a man. I was married. I was married, and I was operating under the impressions that I was given growing up of what a man in marriage should be. That has nothing to do with what I, as a person, needed and or wanted. You understand what I'm saying? So here I was thrown into a whole marriage Well, I wasn't thrown. I decided to go into a whole marriage.
Yeah.
I decided to go into a whole marriage without even knowing me.
Wow. That's deep.
I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't even know what I needed. Why? Because I didn't even know who I was.
But sorry to say,
Go ahead.
It's the complicated part of it. And I just look at it as God just having humor in life. Once we figure something out, he changes it up because, he's God. Sometimes there is exceptions where there are people who need to be in a situation of marriage to find out who they are.
Yo, you know what's funny? I tell people that all the time. I wouldn't be the man I am now if I didn't go through that experience. You understand what I'm saying? In the process, I learned not just myself. I learned what I liked, what I didn't like. I learned my triggers. I learned so many things about myself that now I can be somebody who is whole and is competent upon them in themselves to be there for somebody else. But on the same side, I also say that the only thing in life that I've ever regretted was learning myself while hurting somebody else. And my situation was a little different, but I feel like, and this is going to lead me to the point where I said we're going to skip a little bit. I feel like a lot of people skip the singleness stage in life because especially women, from young, you kind of fed relationship. Women are trained, oh my God, the white dress, the wedding, the glitz and the glamour of having a man and being in a relationship. And nobody really focuses on the single stage, which is very, very important because it's in that single stage that you learn yourself, that you become comfortable with yourself. See, being single doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the stage where you learn yourself, you get to know yourself, you become happy with yourself, because a lot of people enter into relationships insecure about themselves.
And then they end up getting hurt more because they can't have a standard for certain things. Say, for instance, to piggyback on what you're saying, the common denominator of this example is women. Women sit there and say, oh, I'm this. There's so much confidence when they're talking and initially dating. But men are savages. Like, you call them dogs, some of them could smell that. And
shout out to the savages out there.
Nah, they could smell that and they prey on that.
That's so true.
And then
Alex was one of them.
Yeah, and then you sit there and when you done, the bone is already chewed up.
Facts.
You're like, oh,
that's a whole fact.
I got hurt, but you are not allowing yourself to grow.
That's a whole fact. I had a conversation with a young lady not too long ago where in front of me, she was very, very like, I'm over it. I'm this, I'm that. I got myself together. And I'm listening to her talk. And all I can see is, if Alex was still alive, I would tear you to pieces. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. Yeah. It was just a matter of, I can see right through the facade. You understand what I'm saying? And
right through it. It's like,
yeah, and it's not about what you tell people. A lot of people think that by telling somebody something, it makes it a fact.
No.
You gotta know within yourself that you're comfortable with yourself, that you are confident within yourself. A lot of us struggle with insecurities from things that don't even have to do with relationships with the opposite sex. A lot of us have insecurities that come from our childhoods.
Yeah.
That make us insecure and that have us build some type of view on ourselves that we're less than or that we don't amount to. And we bring these things into relationships and then expect the other person to make us feel better. And now you're tasking the other person with a task that they're not even, one, supposed to be dealing with, and two, prepared to deal with.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? Because being in a relationship in and of itself, that in and of itself is a huge task.
Yeah.
But now you're giving me extra work. You ever been at work and you're like, yo, I already got so much work, and then your boss come and throw some more papers on your desk, and it's like, yo, but how you expect me to do this by Friday?
And that's why people turn into like the angry employee, like, I quit.
Right. And that's exactly what happens in relationships. Yo, nah, I'm done with this. Shorty bugging. You know what I'm saying? And not just women, because we're picking on women right now, but just men, especially men. We as men, because we're supposed to be strong, and we're not supposed to show any weakness, and we're not supposed to like show that we are anything less than strong, we do this in even more of a hitting way than women do. Because we flaunt what we're good at, but we hide what we're weak at.
But the funny thing about it, this is why sometimes I sit there and say that, you know, men and women are like totally two different opposite like worlds.
Correct.
I'll give you 2 examples of how a man shows his insecurity and how a woman shows her insecurity. I'm sorry to bring it out, but it just got to. You know, for us to be better, we got to do better or know better.
Uh-oh.
So women, you show your insecurities when you sit there and say, I want a man to adore me, but when he does, he's not a man. He don't take charge. Insecurities.
Uh-oh. Because
you want to control, but yet you want to be submissive. It's crazy. It's confusing. You can't have both. It's either you play a role. I use the better example.
Uh-oh, you opening up a can of worms. You lucky we don't got a live audience. They would have threw their shoe at you.
It's all right, I don't care. You can't drive the car and be the passenger at the same time. It's impossible to do both. You got to choose your roles. So if you're a strong personality and the man is adoring you, I love it. If you want a man to take charge, then there's things that come along with that. Now, men, you show your insecurities when your women do stuff and you start to try to control the situation because you're uncomfortable. So if she comes by and she says something and she's telling you that you're wrong about something and you're like, I'm a man, I know what I'm doing, I could do this. Insecurity. Because at the point, it is a point where you could sit there and say, let me try it or let me think about it. And a wise person could sit back and reevaluate the situation. Be like, I see what you're saying, but it's not going to work. This is the reason why. We usually have a reason, and if you can't explain yourself, it's insecurity. Oh, yo, why you gotta hit her? Oh, nah, cause yo, she pissed me off. All right, other than that, what's the reason?
Right.
Nah, she's a this, she's that.
So for all you women out there that your man is hitting you, sweetheart, it's time to go. There's no man that should be putting his hands on you.
It's time
at all.
Leave.
Any man that's out there putting their hands on their female, that's a weak, insecure man. I don't care how much muscle he got. Sweetheart, he is weak. He's an insecure man, and he's using you to kind of bring his insecurity to some type of justification.
Yeah.
Nah, get up out of there, mama. I don't care how long you done been there. I don't care how good it feel when he doing that thing. Get up out of there. That's an insecure man, and that ain't going nowhere. Anyways, back to singleness. So I feel like in my case, and I can only speak for me because I've only been me my whole life. I feel like in my case, if I would have went through a stage of singleness where I would have learned me prior to entering into a full-blown marriage, there's a big possibility that I'll still be married.
Yeah. And here's the confusion that every meme, every podcast, every person who's a relationship expert talks about. That is misunderstanding the concept of what he just talked about, singleness. Dating. One key aspect he says with no expectation. So singleness does not mean that you have to be like in your own cocoon and don't deal with nobody. Not talking about dealing, but not talk to nobody and converse or go to events or actually have an interaction. You don't have to walk down the street and see a good looking guy and be like, well, I'm single, so I ain't gonna talk to him. No. Like, you just never know. He could be a good friend. You just never know. But you cut yourself off because everybody's saying, be you. Live by yourself and no. Living by yourself doesn't mean you're living in a world without people. You have to interact with people. So when he said singleness, what he's talking about is without the expectations. Just enjoying people's company, companionship. You get to learn different people, different personalities, and you get to understand what you like. All right, this person comes up in this culture. All right, I can't deal with that, but we could be friends. We could still be cool. So that's what he's saying.
We automatically jump into we have to be exclusive, or we have to be this, or we have to be that.
Holy Mary,
right. And that single stage is so important, man, because especially if you're coming out of something that didn't work. And I read something not too long ago that says a lot of people make moves in a new relationship from the pain of their last relationship. You need to heal before you deal. Now, I just spoke to a friend of mine not too long ago that told me that her homegirl was like, yo, I just broke up with my nigga. So what's up? You ain't got any friends? And I was like, you know what? Pause that. And because and believe it or not, a lot of women in our culture, they distract themselves from another man by dealing with another man. And that is not healthy at all. Why? Because you are now, first of all, you're doing an injustice to the person who you're dealing with now. Because you're not ready to give them all of you because you're still here. So now you want to give, you're pretending to be somebody who you're not because you're not over this situation. You haven't healed from this situation. So there's no way you can be whole for this other situation. And now you're bringing all the hurt, all the baggage, all the pain from this situation into this new situation now. And this guy has to deal with something that he shouldn't have to deal with anymore. Or have to deal with at all. You understand what I'm saying? So it's sometimes we're not even ready to date.
At all.
We're not even at the stage where we're ready to date, but we feel that being single is such a bad place to be. Oh my God, I'm about to be 35 and I still ain't got no kids. I ain't married. All my friends is married. They got 2 and 3 kids and I'm still here. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that your friends that are married and have kids are happy.
No. But then that's another thing too. Some people are so insecure that they want to join the club, whether it's happiness or not.
Right. The desire to have companionship outweighs the desire to be happy in life as a whole.
I want to be with my other friends that are wives, and complain about our marriage.
We compare way too much, but that's why I said that the single stage is so imperative, because when you become content with yourself, you don't really give a damn what nobody has to say or thinks about you. Why? Because I'm me, whether you like it or not. Yes, I'm single and I'm 40. Yes. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter what people think about you. It's all about who and what you feel about yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And funny thing is, you say, hey, we grew up in the church and all that, so I'm gonna go church on them just a little bit. It's funny because if you look back into the beginning of times, and I always like to go back to the origin of something. I always like to go back to the manufacturing of something. So in order to figure out how to operate something, you got to go back to the manufacturer. So in the very beginning, everybody, no matter what religion you're in, you know of Adam and Eve. You know about the story of Adam and Eve, and many religions believe in Adam and Eve. Now, what's funny to me is Adam was here by himself for a little while. And it wasn't till because if you read the Bible, God tasked Adam with a lot of responsibilities prior to giving him Eve. So Adam named every animal. He established the land. He got himself established. He established himself. He was a whole man. And then God said, you know what? Let me give him a helpmate. It wasn't because he didn't do what he had to do that he needed help. He did what he had to do, and God said, let me give him a helpmate.
Let me add it in.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, even Adam went through that stage of singleness where it was just him and God and him doing all his responsibilities and dealing with everything that he had to deal with as a person. He learned himself. He knew who he was. He named all the animals. He put this over there. He named that plant. He did this. He did that. And then as a whole person now, somebody who understood himself, God said, yo, let me throw him a little shorty. You know what I'm saying? Let me give him some cheats. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of people skip past that. We skip past that. We skip past the part that Adam was here by himself for a little while. I mean, the Bible doesn't tell you specifically how long, but still it tells you, in order for him to name every animal on the planet, you had to be here for a little while, my nigga. Like, they wasn't in your backyard. You had to catch all of them. Nigga, you gotta go name the fish, you gotta go in the water, you gotta get the birds, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like it took a day or two.
It took some time.
It took some time. And that's my point. Ladies and gentlemen, it takes some time to learn yourself. It takes some time to get yourself in a predicament where you can now be a whole person for somebody else. We desire to be with somebody so bad that we skip a process. There's no way you can go to the 5th grade without passing through the 4th grade. And even for those smart people that get skipped, you might be intellectually smart, but socially you're not there with all the other students. So no matter how you try to go about it, you still have to pass through that stage. You got to take that time. You know what I'm saying? So it is very, very imperative that we view that single stage completely different. And I see that in our communities and in our cultures, that paradigm needs to switch, especially because in Caribbean and Hispanic cultures, and that's all we can talk about because that's all we know, especially as a woman, after a certain age, it's like, you not married yet? Where's your children? You're not, what's wrong with you? Huh?
And if you're married, you don't have a woman? So you're gay?
Yeah. It's like, you're going, right. So, and it's sad because we grow up in that way, and the way we grow up, it kind of forms our frame of thinking. And when we now think this way, we are going to act this way. And when we act this way, we're going to teach our kids this way. And things will continue to be in a cycle where we have to go through 3 failed marriages in order to then find happiness.
It's really sad. I would just say this. Don't look to these other people to see what makes you happy. If you haven't experienced it in your life, then I would say just go experience it.
Right.
I know dudes. I remember one time I had an argument with a dude on the block. Grew up with him. And he had the nerves to say something about, all chicks love when you bite their neck. I'm like, how do you know this?
Yo, shout out to the ladies that like their neck bit.
Yo, one more time.
Shout out to the women that like their neck bit. Oh man.
We give a lot of shout out to that. But he said that. I was like, how do you know? He's like, because I know. Once again, insecurity. You got to speak out of stuff he never experienced.
Right.
Whereas a man who traveled the globe and actually interacted with multiple women.
Whoa. Don't make yourself there. Don't throw yourself out there now.
Not me.
Don't throw yourself out there now. I'm internationally known on the microphone. Don't do that now. Don't do that to yourself. Let's wheel it back now. Woo, right.
That's inside.
Wheel it back now. Whew.
Nah, but it's true. How can you make a statement and haven't experienced it.
Right.
So,
or just make a blanket statement because you've only had few experiences. Right.
And then it says something about you.
Right.
That you are only in this vein. So when we are moving forward, basically Anthony, right now, Alex.
No, Alex is there. Alex
I gotta see which one.
Had to kill him.
Oh, he dead eye.
Yeah, he did.
No funeral for him this week. But yeah, he's basically saying singleness is basically traveling. Y'all want to go to Miami and be on the beach, and y'all want to go to Bali and Indonesia and all these things. You're traveling. Your first travel location should be yourself. Travel and find yourself.
Deep.
And then once you find yourself, then you'll realize all the people around you, you'll be consistent in being you. And guess what? The people who are not supposed to be around you is not going to be around. The person who's going to stick around, that might be the person. And it might be the people that you don't even know. It might be the dude that you've been overlooking. It might be the dude that you were flirting with, and the situations didn't come together, but life has a way of bringing things out.
Correct.
Especially when you're taking the time to know yourself.
Correct.
You put yourself in a position to succeed.
Correct.
I can't be around toxic people. I can't be around this area. Me, I used to love to be around dangerous people, and I'm not dangerous. But guess what? Every time I'm around them, something happening.
Right.
So guess what? If I want to go to a place where I can sit there and be comfortable and safe, guess what? I'm not around those people no more.
Right.
So you can't say, oh, I want to be around marriage type people or marriage type men, and all you're doing is you're in the club and you're looking for scammers or the dudes who's buying bottles, and that's your criteria for letting a man talk to you.
Right.
Whereas a man can be talking to you in the coffee shop and you don't want to talk to him because you had a bad day.
Right.
It's yourself.
Right.
It's yourself.
Oh, not just because you had a bad day, just because he doesn't look like the type of man that you quote unquote feel that you want. And that goes back to the want and the need. That goes back to the want and the need because
see, we skip forward and
not to be, and I don't want to put it out there that quote unquote scammers and gangsters and those people aren't good men.
Oh yeah, let me say yeah.
We that's not what we're saying. But we all know that there's a type of a man that you know you can't raise your family with. Whether that could be a businessman, that could be that could be any type of man, but the character of a person doesn't necessarily have to match with the occupation of a person. Because a person can have bad character with a good occupation or a bad occupation with good character.
And I've seen both.
You understand what I'm saying? So we get caught up in what does he have and what does he do, or what does she have and what does she do, instead of saying what kind of person are they and what kind of person can they be in my life or contribute to my future. And it's not until we know ourselves that we can clearly say, okay, I need this person. You understand what I'm saying? Because you might want a lot of money. Like everybody wants more money, but you may not need the money. You understand what I'm saying? I always say, oh my God, I'm starving. I'm not starving. I done ate 3 times today. But that goes to show you, that's just a glimpse of the things sometimes that we say or that we think that aren't necessarily true. If I was starving, I would be one of those kids in Africa that haven't eaten in 3 weeks.
What?
I ate 3 meals today and I'm saying I'm starving. I'm not starving. I want food.
You just want something.
I don't need it. You understand what I'm saying? Right. I need to gain a little bit. I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need more food. I want it. But it's not until I sit down and I contemplate and I have some time for myself where I say, yo, you don't need this, man. You don't need that. You want it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need 1,000 sneakers. You don't need 1,000 this, 1,000 that. You want it. So we confuse what we need and what we want so much. And we want the man with a lot of money, or we want the woman that's bad, but don't want to deal with what comes with it. So you want the nigga that's in the Rolls Royce. You want the dude that go to the club and he throwing money like there's no other. But then you expect him to be at home and be a father and not have other women like you, or not be out on the scene when you want him to be at home. Or we as men, we want the bad chick, we want the blah, 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 and then don't expect for her to have 1,000 other dudes feeding for her and her to be giving her, loving the attention. We want certain things that we don't need, or we're not even ready to deal with. I see a lot of dudes and I'm like, yo, damn. So I'm like, why he with her?
Yo, but what he got to deal with, yo, you don't know.
Right. Or we'll look at a chick and be like, damn, like she bad, but her man not even on that, and he work at X, Y, and Z. But she's happy. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, as I get older, my happiness means more to me than the glitz and the glamour or what people may see. Because I feel like we get caught up in what people think and what people may see, that we settle for other things in life just to make other people happy. But then again, that goes back to, if we're not happy with ourselves, we're always going to want to please everybody else, even if that causes our unhappiness. Let's move on, because time is of the matter. Now, I don't know if you recall when we was growing up, they used to tell us,
Weapon.
I don't know, man. I might not need the 20 pounds. The chair about to break.
I hear the squeaking, but
yeah, the squeaking. Yeah. Yeah, might not need the 20 pounds. But anyway. But when we were growing up and they were trying to teach us about dating and all that stuff, they brought up this interesting word that was called courting. Mm-hmm. And just like how I looked up the definition of dating,
you look up courting.
I looked up courting.
All right.
And this isn't a church definition, this is Webster's, just like the definition of dating. This is what it says. Seeking the affections of someone, especially seeking to win a pledge of marriage from. Everything in the relationship is very intentional and pointed towards marriage. Now, that really like baffled me, because that showed me that there's a huge difference between dating and courting.
Very.
And like you said, when you're single, it's okay to go on dates. Like, meet people, know people. You know what I'm saying? The most important person you need to know is yourself, but it's okay to go out there, mingle, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you get to the stage now where you're courting someone, and that a lot of people be like, oh, so if you dating someone, is it okay to date multiple people and da 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 da? Okay, if you're going out on dates, cool. You want to go out with Larry and Tom and Harry or whatever, cool. But then it's a stage where you go into courting, where now the intention is there. There's an intention to say, we're planning from now to be together in the future. And now I'm gonna go back and piggyback on your experience with your wife, because I know your story. I know that there was a period where you were single, and then you met your wife and things changed.
Yeah.
It was something about your wife that you intentionally started dealing with her.
Yeah.
So talk to me. Tell me.
So with my wife, shockingly, I met her in a lounge or club.
Oh, look at that.
And the intentions wasn't to
right.
date her or marry her. It was
right.
like, yeah, let's rock. Let's see. You know. I got her number, and she ended up leaving to Florida. Like 2 days later, I had the 3-day rule. I ain't calling you right away. I'm waiting.
Facts. I ain't no fiend.
You know?
I get these joints all the time.
I got options.
Right. Dumbass. Dummy.
Yo, but I waited, and then I call her, and God's honest truth. Babe, I'm sorry. Don't be mad. But I called her, and guess where she was? She was in a movie theater with another dude.
Hey, listen, you wanted your 3 days, nigga. She had 3 days too.
But it was all good. It was like, yo, you busy?
You know what's funny? She answered though.
She answered. That is the interesting thing.
Because if she's on a date, she answered you.
Yo, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. On to something. Mm-hmm. So she answers, I'll call you back. Next thing you know, I call her. I guess she calls me back. And I'm like, oh, so we having a conversation and just blossomed into just a good, cool friendship. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, where you at? Like, yo, let's chill. Oh, I'm in Florida. I'm like, word? Wait. So you call me back while you're in Florida? Suspect. What you doing out there? She's like, oh, I'm with my brother and I'm just chilling and boom, boom, boom. So I left it at that. Every day we talking. And this is what I would say. I'm going back to the definitions you threw out there. Mm-hmm. Dating. That was the dating stage. Mm-hmm. It's basically having companionship with no expectations.
Right.
We were just talking, what we call it, talking.
Right.
And she came back after 3 weeks to New York. We go out on a date. We vibe. And I mean, it was like, I guess the conversations for 3 weeks led up to just an intimate interaction on this date. Mm-hmm. It was to the point we went out at 2 and we didn't finish the date till 2 a.m. It was just one activity after another.
That's dope.
So it was just like, wow. And it was to the point at the end of the night, it was like, I don't even want to leave.
Right.
It wasn't about sex or nothing.
Right.
It was just,
right.
I don't want to leave you.
Right.
I'm rocking with you. Like,
right.
I want to bask in the moment.
Aww.
So we just was chilling. We went out on dates and it got to the point every Friday was our routine. Friday nights was date night for us. And then one time we had a conversation. It was just like, all right, what is this? Mm-hmm. And she sat there and said, I just want to see where this goes. So let's see where it goes. It was cool. So I'm like with it, like, oh, I found me a good one.
Right.
She don't want no titles. She just wants to see where it goes. Oh, I'm doing me.
Because you know we don't like them titles.
What?
Yeah.
You don't want to be my girl, but I can still deal with you and what? Yo, I'm out here, sir. I'm outside.
Right.
No coronavirus. Now I'm joking.
Right.
So my intentions got like totally skewed as far as my plans of having multiple women to just deal with, because at one point every Friday was her night. So
no matter what.
I didn't have nobody else to be like, hold on, I can't do Friday. That was our agreement as our friendship. And it wasn't like we were, the big thing of dinner. It was simple things, movies, this, that. And I remember one time we went to Hooters with one of her friends and this had me crying. We go to Hooters, these chicks out here, booty shorts, tank top. And she meet a high school friend that works there. So she's like, oh, I'm not gonna say my wife's name. I'm just she said my wife's name. I don't know if I should, but
Hey, listen, it's your wife, nigga. I don't know.
I'm not going. So she said, hey, how you doing? She said, good, cool. So she introduces us.
Uh-oh.
She says, oh, this is my friend, and this is my boyfriend. So I looked at her and was like, oh. So you decide where we get it. But it was all good because after that we had a conversation. She was like, I just, the way things are going, the way we talk, I see you have dreams and I just want to be a part of it. So I said that you're my boyfriend, but you have a problem with it? I'm like, no, we good. So then it turned into courting now. Because now the intentions are long.
So she bagged you type of vibe. You know what I'm saying? She made that move. You know what I'm saying?
She pulled out the Birkin bag and was like, get it.
Okay.
But it was crazy. And I was like, all right, cool. And I would say this. It's funny how you were saying singleness, enjoying your singleness. I was enjoying mine. And it took me to get into that relationship, knowing me as a single person. I know me. I know me because I've been single. I know me. It took me to be in that predicament in a relationship to realize, all right, it's time for me to think differently, refocus. I made my mistakes because, I still was trying to get over me, because I was previously married. But each stage it was more of like a closer bond relationship. Like, all right, let's talk this through. What we're doing? What's happening? And once we acknowledge those things, we let everything flow. It was to the point when I first met her family, it was like, he's a friend. Yeah, I'm a friend. They liked me. To the point it's like, nah, this dude, he cool, he nice. Nah, there's something about this. And they saw her happy. So now it was the experience. All right, come with us. Come with us to this event. Come to the auntie's birthday party. Come to the cousins.
Right.
Giving more opportunity for us to grow.
Right. And none of that would have happened would you had not went through your stages.
If I didn't had the singleness and I just jumped into one, well, actually, technically I did, but I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. But I had my moment of singleness. Like, nobody could claim me, even though technically I didn't.
On paper, right. Yeah, I get it.
I was separated, but I was like, I'm out here. I'm in the streets.
Right.
But I learned through that moment, was like, wow. And what had me laughing, one of my friends from high school, at my wedding, excuse the language, he came up to me, he's like, yo, you's a marrying nigga. But I sat there and I looked at him.
That's funny.
I was like, you're right. I'm a long-term kind of relationship guy. I can do it.
Right.
But I can't.
But you desire to be with someone. Yeah, right.
I don't desire to be with someone. I'm desire to have that person.
Right.
That person.
Right.
So when I have that person near me, I can grow. I can flourish. Like Adam.
Right.
He had the dominion. He had it. But he wasn't able to flourish as far as family. Until Eve came in. Because she was the help me.
Right.
So I need that help me. I got big dreams and I can't do it alone.
Right. And the thing is,
sorry for wheezing.
You good. You got corona. It's all right. I got the antibodies. Nah, but what I said this, I think probably in the last episode or whatever, or I've just said this in general. I feel like we all innately have that desire to be with the one. And that we all have the one out there. Now, when God created Eve, where did he take her from? Adam's rib. So that means that for every woman out there, there's a rib missing from a guy.
And if you were single, you know yourself, you know how to find your rib is your body part.
So for every woman out there, there's a man missing his rib.
Wow. I like that.
So that tells me that for every woman out there is a man. It's just a matter of finding them. But you have to find self before you find them.
But you know you're jumping into something else, you know.
You know I jump in.
When you jump in, because
I jump in.
You're jumping in some deep waters.
I jump in.
You know when you talk about contracts, which is marriage, at one point, polygamy was the thing.
Yeah, but we had that discussion in the earlier episode, because remember earlier I said we got to go back to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, if polygamy was something that God orchestrated,
he'd have made multiple Eves.
He would have made multiple Eves. But he created one Eve out of one rib.
All right.
It wasn't until sin came in the picture that we as men and as humans started to make things okay to fulfill our needs.
All right. Hey. All right. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
listen, when I brought that up, it wasn't an agreement. Because me personally, I can't deal with more than one woman.
I don't even know how niggas can do that, son. That's a lot of my dude.
Especially when they all on the same cycle. When they're matching or what they call syncing.
Dude, it's crazy.
Let's say all of y'all get talked right.
Yeah, everybody get out. Everybody get out. So that goes to show that it's a full circle, man. It's a full circle.
We're missing ribs.
And we need Our communities need families. Our communities need households where there's a man and there's a woman. Our children need to see dad present and need to see mom present. I feel like we've come so far from family, and we blame it on the white man, and we blame it on this, and we blame it on that. And there's a lot of reasons why we can blame other people. But at the same time, we need to take responsibility for the things that we do wrong.
Oh, sorry.
And we just need to know that we need to take our time when it comes to relationships. And we need to know for a fact that, you know what I'm saying, the person whom I'm dealing with, if you know, ladies, if you know that this is not a person that you would want to have a marriage with or be married to or have your kids around, don't waste your time there, because now and this is not something, this will go into at a later time, but now you're dealing with, you are building, what they call it, ties. What is it called?
Soul ties?
Soul ties with somebody whom you don't even need to be tied to. So now you're bringing this soul tie from this relationship into another, and it might be causing friction between you and your rib, the real person in whom you're supposed to deal with.
Christ, wow.
You understand what I'm saying? So relationships are hard in and of itself because it's two different people coming together and finding a way to do life together. So that's hard. But now when you bring in this person with 17 soul ties and this person with 13, and you are trying, like, it's gonna take a harder time or more time, or it's gonna be more difficult to really do this thing called life together as a whole, as one. You understand what I'm saying? So in closing, we spoke about a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, we did.
We touched on a lot of things today.
Yeah.
But in closing, I personally would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, you understand what I'm saying? No matter what stage of life you're in, the most imperative relationship in your life is the one that you have with yourself. It's knowing yourself, it's knowing where you are, it's knowing who you are, it's being happy with who you are, and not letting anybody or anything influence your thought about yourself.
Yeah.
Love yourself. Another Bible thing, that's that church that we was raised in. Another thing that the Bible says, when, I don't know if you recall, when Jesus said, there's only 2 commandments that I honestly really need you to follow. Love thy God with all thy heart, all thy soul, and all thy might. And what else did he say? Love thy neighbor as yourself.
I was about to say that in a different way, but go ahead.
Now, if I don't love myself, how can I love somebody else? So the measure in which I love myself is the measure in which I would be able to love anybody else.
That's why Alex is dead.
Had to kill him.
Yeah, funeral's next week.
So the measure in which you love yourself and think about yourself is only the measure in which you'll be able to give to somebody else. So if you don't love yourself, you cannot expect yourself to love someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a main reason why a lot of relationships fail or are failing, because we have a lot of people who don't even love themselves and are trying to love somebody else. Talk to them, Barry, in closing.
Man, I'm gonna keep it brief. If you ever get the chance, read the book, The 5 Love Languages. Imperative. What he's saying is basically that. Once you know your love language and what you're willing to give and what you're willing to receive, you get to understand that it's not always ideal match with the person. You might like time where the person feels like he just could affirm you. Right. And now you're clashing because you don't even know what kind of affection you want. You're just saying it. We're going to talk about the 5 love language later on in this podcast. Okay. There's an episode on it. So I'm basically just piggybacking off of what Anthony's saying. Love yourself, and then once you do that, you could love the partner, because a lot of people wrecking their bodies. Don't care. How do you have a rib? Your rib. You hurting your rib. That's crazy.
Yo, Barry, I appreciate you, man.
No problem, bro.
Love, you already know, my dude.
Love.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Alex versus Anthony podcast. It's been real. Deuces.